What I prepared here, as you can see, is like a tier list for beginners from face roll to easy to middle to hard and to don't even try as a beginner in solo shuffles in arenas, you know. And affliction, it starts here. I mean, I played all classes, of course. I play all specs. I've also like pumped them to 1.8 and higher. So I think I'm a multiclasser. I have like nearly 50 80s, and I think I can make a decision there. I try to be as objective as possible. Yeah, let's just start with it. And the affliction, this is one of the classes I like very, very much. One of the specs I like very much. So, but unbiased, it is not that easy to play, I would say. If I would say for affliction, if we go into this tier list, I would say this is the middle of the barrel. It is not super easy, it's not face roll, 100% not. But it's also not super hard. We are not going here from like top gaming performance or whatever, you know? We are not talking about that, we are just talking about like beginners and how they are like adjusting very fast when they want to go into PvP or whatever. And the affliction is very okay in that it's in the middle as a caster also. In this, like the melees will be higher up here, I guess, and the casters will be lower down here, because melee is always kind of easier, but we come to that. Arcane Mage, as you saw, huge damage right now, huge face roll. It's not, I would not say face roll. Mage is always like a class which you need to be good at with different stuff, but I would never say Mage is easy. It isn't. Like, I would put this into middle here, also like the affliction. Arms, it is, I think, easier than those two, but also not face roll, because arms you need to be pretty versatile to make it really viable. Yeah, that's basically it there. If we go into assassination, rogue is always not so easy. It is one of the harder classes. And I would say, I'm not sure if it's like on the middle or hard. I think it is also in the middle category, because Asa is still the easiest spec from the rogue specs, I would say. Rogue is never easy. Like, if you want to make it viable, it's one of the harder ones. So I put this also on the range of this. Yeah, tank druid. Tank druid. I'm open here. I think I tried it only once in Shadowlands, just for fun. Is it even played right now? I don't think so. I think, you know what? This is a fucking tank. Let's put it down here. I think it's not even viable, really, for PvP. So let's put it down here, don't even try. Nearly same as on the Blood Decay. The Blood Decay is pretty easy to play. Also some kind of, it's also viable, pretty much. So I put it up here, but it is not really effective. I would not recommend, I wouldn't recommend anybody to play fucking Blood Decay. There is some times, or in the last season, there was a fucking buff where they got like huge output and it was even viable for ABC and this and that, but this is like shenanigans which beginner don't needs to deal with, you know. Okay, here we come to BM. So I push my BM right now. It is face roll, like it is what it is. BM is super easy. Let's take out the fact that the hunter needs to be good at trapping and on the timings, but you can say that on every char in PvP, right? Like the timings are always important. You need to be just super well at your trappings, and you need to just have good muscle memory for your DPS throughput. And it's pretty much a face roll class, especially for beginners, because most of the stuff your pets are doing for you, you don't need to really care about that much. So let's try to keep it short a bit. The Moonkin I didn't play it for a while, but the Moonkin I can tell you is pretty hard. Like if you want to play Moonkin well, it's harder than an Arcane Mage, I would say. Because you are pretty squishy, you need to have a good overview, you have no real defenses or whatever, but you want to still do your throughput. And we're talking about solo shuffles here mostly, right? So Moonkin is not that easy in that regards. But if you master it, it can be a powerhouse, 100%, but it's also like super spec dependent a bit, composition dependent, that's what I mean. So Brewmaster Monk, I saw one, where do we put this guy? I never like played it once also a long time ago, but like I said, I don't go into tanks too much. But if you want to play a brewmaster, really don't even do it. Just go for the Windwalker in that case. Demo, I'm struggling between face roll and easy because demonology is like the easier one of the Warlock specs, but it's also Warlock is never that super easy. I put it in easy mode. Like it's harder than Affliction, it's easier than Affliction, but also not so easy like a fucking BM, I would say. So we are putting it in the middle because you have your pets also, right? It's kind of on BM in this case, where you just summon your pets and they are doing also like passive damage basically, and so it is easy to play. You don't need to care too much about stuff like damage, timings, and this and that. You just pump out your stuff, which is like rocking or whatever, do your rotation, and you will get damage out somehow, you know? So, of course, when we are not talking about like super high level here or something, then it's something different. But we could say that about every class, about every spec. That's why I would go in general for beginners. It's a pretty easy spec which you can easily tap into. Destruction is a little bit harder, I would say. It is the hardest here from all of this. Because here you also go into you need to be somewhat careful that you are fearing in the right moments and that you are pumping out your damage in the right moments. So it is not that easy. And also like if you're in a melee cleave or whatever, can be a struggle for you if you don't have the good overview. So it's not easy, but it's also not super hard. Like right now you have a lot of passives, you have a lot of nearly instant chaos balls and this and that. If you manage that some way decent, you have a nice to play class there. So on the disc, this is my main. I could be biased a bit, but I will put it in hard. From the healer's perspective, this is a harder healer to play. Like harder healer to play like really well. It is nothing for beginners, I would say. Really not. I won't put it in don't even try, but it's really hard to master because you need to be offensive the whole time and you still need to be defensive. Oh, moment, we got a Q-pop and now we're at Elemental Shami. For a beginner, an Elemental Shami is not easy, but it's also not hard. I would say somewhere here in between because you are pretty squishy. You have like one or two defensives which you need to utilize. Of course, it's also a bit proc dependent and you need to react on it fast. Can make huge damage, but if you don't know stuff, you will get punished very easily. That's what I would say to Elemental. As an Enhancer, nearly the same. I would even say it's hard. For really beginner, if we are talking from a beginner perspective, Enhancer is not so easy. Yeah, Enhancer is harder than Elemental, I would say, because as Elemental you have at least the advantage that you can pump damage from everywhere, and on the Enhancer you have still this thing of connecting sometimes to roll your also like goals and this and that. Plus you are pretty proc dependent, so that's why I would say Enhancer is pretty hard. It's not so easy. Like the rotation is not super hard or something, but the timings of it is like making it hard, and the connecting. And from a beginner's perspective, it's not super easy. So I would put it like this. When we are talking about Feral, I would not say easy. Feral, I would not say easy. I mean, of course, the throughput is hardcore right now. Also, the rotation is pretty easy. It's not a huge thing, you know. You can also just like have your lucky one-shots, cheesy stuff going. This is not the problem. But you still need to be somewhat good sometimes with kitings and your cyclones and this and that. So this is not beginner friendly. Really not easy to like control the game as a feral, which you should do normally. Fire Mage is, I would say, pretty easy. This is one of the easier. Like Mage is in general not easy. Really, I would put every mage down into the hard category if you really want to play it well. But if we are going from a throughput beginner perspective, I would say like Fire Mage. Arcane Mage is a bit harder, and the Fire Mage is the easiest of the specs because you have like the straight combustion, straight goes every 1 or 2 minutes. It's like 2 minutes, you know. It's like undertuned kind of. Right now it's not really viable. I would not recommend going glass cannon because you are losing a lot of HP then you are really a glass cannon. But if you just want to have like fun and make like super hardcore throughput for a very short time, then fire is the way to go. And it's not so hard. The question is like, is it in the easy category really? The problem with mages is like you can't never say it's easy. Mage is a class for itself, basically. That's my problem with it. But if I would say, yeah, and here comes the Frost as next, and I would say Frost is also like middle to hard even. Like to play it really well, it's not easy. You see, like in mages, here, here, and here, if we can put them down like this, moment, can we? Yes, we can. I would say all of them are normally hard because you need to be really good with your alter times always. You need to be good with your blocks. You need to be good with your blinks. There is a lot of stuff that is going into this, you know, but just from the damage rotation and throughput, I would say it's this ranking, like Fire, Arcane, and then Frost Mage. Or I would even say Frost Mage then near to Arcane, maybe a bit harder or the same level. You know what, I pumped them one level down. I go like this. Because Mage is a class for itself, man. It's not that easy. Like if I compare it now to the Demonology, Demonology is way, way easier. Way, way easier. And also the Arms Worry. So I think this is the way to go here. Fire is easier because of its easy rotation, but it's of course also not super easy. You could say also Arcane Mage is easy because of its rotation, but there it is also more timing dependent. Like you could say like this, like Fire, Arcane, in the near of them, and then Frost. Because Frost has also a lot of stuff going on, which you need to consider. I mean, it is also more versatility, but you also need to be good with that to make it viable, basically. That's why I would put it here. It has basically also more buttons, you know? Like on Fire Mage you have less buttons, here you have less buttons, and here you have the most buttons. Let's say that like that for a beginner. Frost Decay. Frost Decay is, I would say, easy, right? I mean, you have your one fucking go. After that, you are pretty much useless. Of course, from a high level standpoint, you can say it's also not that easy. But if you're just going for the throughput, for a fast go, for fast damage, you have your stun rotation plus your fast damage rotation, and then you have also good throughput. And after that, you are for the next 2 minutes basically like useless. That's why it's not so beginner friendly. So I would even go into middle here, but compared to I would say Unholy is easier, but it's kind of also face roll, man. Let's say like that, face roll. Like if I'm talking about now the decays, yeah, Unholy is pretty much face roll. That's the, of course we are not talking about like perfect stunnings, perfect grippings, and so on. You know, you're still having good throughput while still making good pressure, you know. So I would put this one into face roll because the rotation is easy. You don't need to care about too much. Frost is, in my opinion, a little bit harder because it really has not much versatility like Unholy normally has. When I say like face roll, okay, there we're coming to the next face roll. Fury Worry, from a beginner's perspective, the same. You have a super easy rotation, you have 2 charges, a jump, which is also making you connect very well. You will not have big issues really to connect. Your Blade Storm is also a no-brainer, also makes huge damage right now, plus also helping you to connect very well. Easier than easy rotation, damage rotation, and very well throughput, very nice throughput, you know. This is like, also I would say face roll, basically, for a beginner. If you want to like start something up, Fury, PM, Unholy Decay, it's like good choices. So now we are at the DH. Look, a lot of people would say DH is a face roll, right? Would I agree with this? From a high level standpoint, no. 100% no, but I would put it into easy. I would not say it's face roll, not in the style right now, because there is also different specs going on a bit, different styles how you can play it, kind of, and the rotation plus with the stuff with the sigils and so on, which they added, is not so easy, especially not for a beginner, like the ground area thingies and the sigil of misery with the fear and so on. Also the imprisonment. If you are talking just from a throughput situation, yes, it is of course easy, but I would not say it's face roll. You have to watch out more with stuff than these other classes here as a DH, as a DPS DH. So I would put it here right under face roll in the easy. Holy Priest. This is a hard one. Holy Priest is more straightforward, easier than a Discipline Priest, I would say. But I would also not say that it's easy. It's not an easy healer. You need to be still able to rotate your stuff well, and you also have you have a pretty easy heal rotation, yes, but you also have like good cooldowns that you have to rotate pretty well. So I would put it into middle. I would not put any healer, I think, into face roll or something, because healing is, on average, it's harder than doing DPS. It is what it is. Like, healing is harder. You can tell me what you want. Also, it's harder to push in solo shuffles. Everyone who says like healing is easier to push than DPS never healed in his life. So don't listen to those guys. I would say, yeah, middle is a good ground for a Holy Priest, right? When we are coming to Holy Pali, I would say this is the more easier heal. Especially right now, maybe I'm biased right now because of the season. They are super strong right now. But also like just you have a lot of CDs which can really neglect a lot of stuff. You have an easy stun, which is also helping out a lot. You have your bubble. You have a super easy and clean heal rotation basically for yourself. And this hardcore throughput. If you want to have an easy time as healer, you want to basically choose a Holy Pali. It is what it is. The priests are harder, 100%. And to the monk we come, yeah, right now. Like, if we are at the healers, I can talk also. The monk, he has the cocoon, which is a huge plus, and he has also a super easy heal rotation. Okay, if I would put it into middle, I would say heal monk is still harder than a Holy Pali, because you have like this going in sometimes, also CCing, you know, you need to be in the near to CC effectively and then also go out. Your heal rotation is of course a no-brainer, it's super easy, but you have to have a lot of awareness to make this really viable and effective. And I would not say it's easy, I would not say it's hard, I would say it's in the middle, somewhere there, right? With the MM, I mean, MM is a hard one, man. Let me think about it. MM is, it's not easy, it's also not face roll. It's 100% harder than playing a BM. That's for sure. Because there's also more timings and so on involved. But it's also not hard. Like, I would still say it's easy. Really, it's easy. If we are taking out the aspect with the trappings and this and that, it's still an easy class. Like, because your rotation is pretty straightforward, you know, you have your good range. Also, you can stay in the background and still, even if you're like not so good, even as a beginner, you will do your throughput basically. Somewhere between easy and middle here at the tipping point. Okay, now we're coming to Outlaw. Hard. We're just saying hard. If you really want to play Outlaw as a beginner, you will have a hard time. Rogue is also like a mage, I would say. Kind of the hard classes. You know, Rogue and Mage. It's like the two classes which I really respect. You know, especially when you're like super specialized in it. But the Outlaw is another tier, man. Like, Assassination, okay, we could say it's a little bit of like middle to easy. You know, you just spread your bleedings, but there's always timing involved. And on Outlaw, you will feel this even more. I mean, it is super strong if you master it, but before you master it, you will have a hard time and you will also struggle, and it will be super ineffective basically. The problem now is like it has still more, yeah, it has more control compared to the assassination. That's my problem right now. Now let's take the rogues like this. It is like middle to hard, right? SA and Outlaw. This is fine. Like this could be pretty much fine like this. Here we have the Prot Pali. Tank I put down here. But the Prot Pali is even a fucking viable tank, which you really can play. Also like the Brewmaster. With the Brewmaster I don't have that much experience, but with the whole Prot Pali I have experience. And I would say it's pretty, like if you want to just play for fun, you can do it. I just put it down here. It is not easy. Playing it well, it's not really easy. But no, it is easy. Let's put it in easy because the thing is like the rotation is super easy. You know what you're doing. Of course, there is a lot of timing stuff going on. You need to know when to use what, you know. You could say that about every class. Otherwise, if you are not thinking of a high level or something, this is something straightforward, super straightforward, so pretty easy, maybe to middle. And also nobody really plays this in solo shuffle. You are super hated if you are playing this, if you are queuing as a Prot Pali, so I would not recommend that to anybody. But I mean, you can try it out. You can try it out. There are some who are specialized in this. But then you are also getting only queued into other Prot Palis, and then you will see that it's not that easy. So yeah, we are putting it to middle, because it's really not that easy then. Because you will face only other Prot Palis, and as a beginner, if you really don't have like big game knowledge, timing knowledge, and this and that, you will really have a hard time. So that's why I put it in middle here. Otherwise, of course, rotation-wise and this and that, it's pretty straightforward. Tank Worry, I don't know, nobody plays this. I just put it in don't even try. I mean, you can try, but I wouldn't. So, Resto Druid, it has a hard time right now, and I also put it in hard here. Resto Druid, if for a beginner, no chance. No fucking chance. Right now, especially not. Like, if you want to make a Resto Druid right now viable, you need to be really good. And no beginner has like this kind of awareness that you need as a Resto Druid, because you need to put in your roots very well, you need to put in your cyclones very well, you need to prepare HOTS very well, and also pre-use most of the stuff to counter the damage that is coming in right now. I don't even play Resto Druid right now. It was my first main healer that I played, you know. Of course I have a lot of experience with it, but right now I don't enjoy it too much, because the throughput is just, the damage throughput is just so much higher than what you can heal with this, so it makes really no fun. It is like super stressful, and right now I would not recommend this to any beginner. When we are talking about the Shami, same game here. It could be, of course, that they have a harder time in general right now, but at least the Shami has a little bit more throughput. It is even harder than the priest right now, the discipline priest. You see, I put it in hard. If I need to rank the healers, don't even try Shami, don't even try druid as a beginner, because you will get rolled over, basically, if you don't know what you are doing. Of course, you can say the same about the disc. You know, this is like 3 healers which you really need to master, which you need to like, where you need to know a lot about the game, where you want to also have a lot of experience to make it viable. Pretty much the same. Disc, Shami, Druid, Resto Druid, especially. The disc you could put a little bit up front. The Frost Mage we could put kind of here behind the Owl, the Moonkin. And then it comes the Enhancer. I think this is already really good. The red, I put it on easy, because just throughput wise, if you want to make a good impact, good damage and this and that, easy. No problem. Easy rotation, easy procs, you know, easy connection. I mean, you are not connecting perfectly fine. The Fury has more mobility, I would say, but you still have like some kind of mobility with your freedom and your two these horses, you know. Of course, if we are talking about the beginner's perspective here. If you want to talk about high level perspective, it's hard. You know, it switches really fast between easy and hard. But from a beginner perspective, you can still have a good throughput, a good impact on the solo shuffles and into the games just by bubbling and doing your fat damage, just by shielding, like using your defensives very well, and then you are perfectly fine. You know, then it's a super easy class. It's nothing like super complicated or something. Of course, if we are talking about like high level playing, then it goes down in the list here because you have like this versatility and this utility for your team also. You can bob your mates, you can give them magic shields, and you can give them the sanctuary, and you can even heal them and everything else. Then it gets hard, like to have also that awareness, you know. But they made it also that most of the stuff is like casted from far, you know. So you're basically caster, running caster, melee caster, or whatever. You just need to connect for the, I think, Wake of the Ashes, and that's basically it. And then it's pretty straightforward. So I would say right now it's easy and has a super strong impact, also for beginners. And like I said, we are not talking about high-end plays here. And as a beginner, you don't want to play a Shadow Priest. Priest is a also, I would say, yeah, it is on this level of these healers, man. Like, it is a level for itself. It's not easy. I would not say it's easy. I would not say it's middle. It's kind of in a hard spot. Because as a shadow, you want to have like have like this awareness. If you are getting into melee cleave, you are pretty much fucked over if you do not know what you are doing. Of course, you could say the same about affliction and destruction, but this guy is even more like timing dependent. Oh, yo. Yeah, but what should I answer to this? Fuck it. So SP, kind of hard. It's not so super easy, especially not in solo shuffles. If you are not knowing how to fear, how to stun, and how to do this and that, and it is super timing dependent, then also you will not have an easy time because it has also like this super utility which you need to use, like with shieldings and healings and dispersion and swapping. This is too much for a beginner, right? Like if you do not know anything about the game, this is a class, this is a spec which is kind of hard, on the harder side of things. It's not like in PvE, right? Rotation wise, damage rotation wise, it's pretty straightforward, like nearly all classes, but there is so much going into this that you can't imagine really. And that's what makes it really hard, especially for beginners. Same with sub-rogues. Here we have it like prot. I could put this like this already. Like rogue in general, harder class to play really well, to make it viable. And I would say, if I need to decide between outlaw and sub, I would even say the sub is a little bit easier and the outlaw comes after that. But it's pretty much between like the, like let's say it like this. Prot Pali in between, then the Asur is kind of easier than those guys, but the sub and the outlaw you can put in one category nearly, I would say, to make them viable. So I put them down there on hard. Now we have the survival hunter, which is not face roll, but which is also not easy, I would say. It is more like the middle hunter. You know what? Let's put it up front here. Like as you see, we have hunters here, right? DM, MM, and the survival. The thing with the survival is you have easier traps. You have an easier time to trap, but you have also more to care about and jump around, like awareness-wise, you know? Because you need to swap and then, for example, go to the healer, trap him, and then go back into your damage mode. And there is more timing involved, I would say, which you completely nearly can neglect as a DM and as a MM. You have also timing involved, but not as much as a survival hunt. Okay, the argument would be the trappings are way easier. You are always going in the near of them, and then you're putting the trap perfectly also into your stun or whatever. That would be the best case scenario. You know what? It is easy. It is still easy. I mean, it's like on the same level as the MM, I would say. Like, if you really want to have an easy time, you are going to play Warrior or Hunter, basically. Or maybe DH, DK. There you can't do anything wrong. Maybe Red or Pali in general. Here we have tank DH. Don't even try. I just put it down here because it's, I think, not really viable. I saw some people playing it, like, and if it's viable, it's also like more of the easy side of things. It's not hard, and so I would put it, if you want to really play a fucking tank, then play tank DH or maybe Blood DK. You know what? I just put them down here at the end because nobody plays them anyways. And now, last but not least, our Windwalker monk. How I feel about the Windwalker? It's not easy, but it's also not hard. I would say it's really in the middle of things. You have an easy rotation, you have good throughput, but you also need to time your defensives really well. Really, and sometimes you even need to kite and this and that. And for a beginner, this is not super easy to do. The monk is perfectly in the middle, it's not hard, it's not easy, it's not face roll. I would not say face roll because it has also a lot of mobility, which you also need to utilize on him a bit, kind of.